both bikes are being built side by side. I just hope that they make mine a little bit faster than they make theirs. That's all.
Okay, Leonard, these are the parts that we're going to use on your 2011 Twin Cam. We want to increase your reliability. Okay. We want to help your oiling system work better. We want to give you more power at the same time. So,
before you talk.
on your motorcycle, because you already have a 103 and it's pretty good engine size, we're just going to do a cam today for the power side of it. And this is a 528 cam. It's a new cam that we've just come out with.
Is it a torque cam or a horsepower cam?
This is actually our in-between cam. The 525 is our torque cam. That gives you a lower RPM where the power kicks in. I really love the 525, but we didn't feel it was right for your application. If you never go above 90, 95 miles an hour, the 525 is amazing because it's all the power right there where you ride. But it does have a top end where it limits. So this cam will allow you, if you need to in certain parts of the country, to be able to cruise in that 90, 100, 110 range. I know you're not riding, you know, probably there or beyond, but the point is
we're there sometimes.
Okay, I mean,
that's about right?
And the last thing you want is for your bike to top out at 100
yeah.
and then just watch everybody walk away. So this is going to give you more power. It gives you the early torque, plus it gives you more horsepower. I do have a horsepower cam called the 575, which is a fantastic cam as well, but it's really shifted more mid-range to top end. You kind of want the best of everything, which is why we went to the middle.
Red shift cams, 528 guys, right here.
In addition to that, we're going to upgrade your oiling system. This is your stock oil pump that we pulled out of your motorcycle, and for the mileage you have, this looks phenomenal inside. We think your engine's in very good shape. My opinion is it was working very well, it was well maintained, and the parts pretty much show that. We don't think that your bike had any inherent problems, so to speak.
Just low. Okay.
Well, it's right. We can fix that.
Okay.
The late style twin cam pump is very good. That's why we're not even going to replace this. You know, we could. There's other aftermarket options. There's all kinds of different high volume pumps out there. But we actually tell guys with the early motorcycles to upgrade to this later pump. Prove how well this is working. Everything seems to be working very well inside your engine. Now we can still make it better. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace your cam plate. This is a billet cam support plate. The difference between this cam plate and yours, we actually go in and seal the oil bypass plunger. And basically what that is a blow off. So you know how when you first turn your bike on, if you have an oil pressure gauge, it'll jump up to 60 when it's sitting there at cold idle. And then as it heats up, you know, it falls back down. The little valve inside here prevents the engine from over oiling. There's a set point where that blows off and it doesn't allow you to pump 60, 70, or 80 pounds to your top end.
Okay.
Too much is a bad thing. The bypass valve prevents you from having too much oil at the top, but the fact that we seal it maintains your pressure down low.
Oh, okay.
So like when you're at an idle and you're sitting somewhere, you know, you may only see 10 pounds of pressure on your gauge.
Yes.
So this should actually step that up. So our goal is to keep this thing going and give it a whole new life.
Look at that, has the Zipper Z on there. That's such a beautiful piece that he will never see again.
It's the problem with being a designer of internal engine parts. The most beautiful work no one ever sees. But you feel it, you know it. You know once this cam goes in and you hear it and you feel that power, that it's there.
Yeah.
But
I'll take that.
we sell this two different ways. So this is the standard version. And it means these windows here are cut out to match your stock pump, right? If we found that there were debris in here, that it had been damaged, and we didn't want to reuse your pump, we also sell one of these that says high volume on it. The high volume has slightly larger windows here, and that's meant for all of the high volume pumps on the market. The gerotors are actually bigger, and the plate has to be changed to handle that high volume pump. But I don't feel that yours needs it. I really don't. So we actually sell this 4 different ways, 2 for the late engines and 2 for the early engines. The other benefit to this plate is your engine was the hydraulic cam chain tensioner from the factory, and this maintains that. When we get to the blue bike, we're also going to be upgrading that to hydraulic cam chain tensioners. And what that'll do is help keep your cams in time without putting too much pressure and wearing anything out. This is going to be a reliability part that I think is going to help the life of the engine. The next big item are the dual piston cam chain tensioners. It's a very important part for a twin cam. The cam chain tensioners are what keep the front and the rear cam in time. You know, when you go to the M8, it only has 1, so there's no difference between the front or the rear cylinder. But when you have 2 tensioners and 2 chains, you can end up in a spot where if the inner tensioner isn't working right, your front cam is going to be timed differently than your rear cam. And it can actually cause power loss, throttle response. The biggest thing in testing when we developed these, we saw a 5 horsepower gain just by putting these in.
Wow.
And it was an immediate feel on the throttle. So everything just became much crisper. And it's not that we gained power, it's that we brought the power back that should have been there. So these are a staple to our cam kits, and we highly, highly recommend them. We're going to be replacing the inner cam bearings. When we do the cam swap, we're going to be putting new lifters in. It's just good practice when you put a new cam in, and especially with the mileage. The Thundermax. We have to go to a Thundermax because now we're going to be in a situation where you need to tune this motorcycle. This Thundermax is going to, by itself, wake your motorcycle up. So there's going to be a performance gain with this, plus all of the pieces that we've added in.
I have a Thundermax on my bike. They're going to put a Thundermax on Memphis, my Road King there. Both bikes are being built side by side. I just hope that they make mine a little bit faster than they make theirs. That's all.
So we're going to put a high flow air cleaner on your motorcycle to help out with power. This is a Khrome Werks 2-into-2 dual header system. So you currently have a factory head pipe with Khrome Werks slip-ons.
Correct.
So we are now going to be upgrading you to the full Khrome Werks system. And because you already have the mufflers, there's lots of different baffle options. So we're going to be able to swap them in and out and see what you prefer as far as the sound and the feel. All of this in conjunction, a much better exhaust system, higher flowing air cleaner, ECM, cams, tensioners, oiling system, all of this, it's not really a lot of parts when you look at it, but it's going to be a lot of change to the output of the motorcycle. So I think you're going to be very happy with it.
Hey Leonard, you remember your horsepower and your torque numbers?
Horsepower was 68.9 and the torque was 88.
88.8.
88.8 for the torque.
For basically a stock motorcycle with slip-ons, it made a little bit more horsepower than what we had seen on a stock bike, but the jump is going to be much greater when we go to all of these parts.
You ready for that much power?
I'm ready.
So we just got through hearing about Leonard's bike. Nobody wants to hear about that bike, right? Now we're about to hear about Memphis, the Road King, the 88 Road King. As I told you in the video the other day, it's a good looking bike, but man is it slow. I mean, no power at all. But we're about to take care of that. And we have a table full of goodies right here that Adam's about to show us what's going on in Memphis.
So this is going to be a similar mindset between Memphis and Leonard's motorcycle, but we're going to have to do a little bit more to Memphis to get it to make a similar amount of output.
It's slower.
On your 88 cubic inch motor, we're going to do similar things as far as we want to upgrade the oiling system,
Right.
because we want to give you much more reliability and dependability.
Mine look the same as Leonard's pretty much.
Okay, so yours does not look the same. If you pull it out, there's a big difference between the early and the late twin cams. So on Leonard's, it actually has bronze bushings for the cams.
Wow.
And yours, the early ones, has a bearing that gets pressed in there. So you
Okay.
can see how different that is here. Now, what's very similar about these, this is the late and this is the early. Both of these are set up for late style hydraulic tensioners. So we can use our dual piston cam chain tensioner. It kind of gives you the best of everything. You can still use your 99 to 06 style cams, which have the bearings that get pressed in, and you can use the later model hydraulic tensioners, which are much more reliable, I think they are much more accurate in their cam timing, and it's a good thing to upgrade from your spring tensioners to this system.
And mine says high volume. I didn't see that on Leonard's.
So Leonard's doesn't say high volume, and the reason is we're reusing his pump. On yours, the early pump is not what we consider to be a good pump.
Oh.
So we don't want to reuse the early pump.
Okay.
So all of our billet plates are set up to accept late pumps.
Okay.
So we would be able to take a late stock pump like what Leonard has and put in your motorcycle with that plate.
Oh.
There's actually a different bolt pattern between early and lates. You can't really mess it up. You can get 3 of the bolts in, but if you can't get the 4th in, then that's why. So on yours, because we know we have to replace the pump, we have gone ahead and we're going to put in a high flow pump, like a high volume pump. This has a larger gerotor, and this is going to match up to the larger windows inside our plate.
Right.
Again, there's a whole bunch of different manufacturers of these pumps. In yours, you get a high flow. Okay, so we have chosen the 511 cam for your motorcycle. And the reason is this cam was originally developed for the 99 to 04 platform. The valve spring at the time only had 510 lift maximum capacity. So that's where the 510 comes from. Now yours is an interesting motorcycle because in 05 and 06, they actually upgraded to the beehive spring that's in the later engine. So all the late twin cams like Leonard's has a beehive spring, and it can go much, much higher in lift. So this cam is actually developed specifically for this style motorcycle because it's a 5-speed. So the output's very similar to the 528. And in fact, the main difference is where we set the torque curve and the horsepower curve, and it's really on what RPM are you cruising down the road on. And you know from between a 5-speed and a 6-speed, you're in a different RPM range.
Right.
So this is meant to optimize the RPM range. So I'd put a 511 in a 5-speed bike and a 528 in a 6-speed bike, and you're gonna get excellent results with both.
Same question as I asked on his. Is it a horsepower cam or a torque cam?
So this one, I would actually, I hate to say it, but I would actually call this a horsepower cam.
Okay.
And the reason is, when I was asked to design this, I designed the lowest torque cam I could come up with. And when I presented my findings to Dan and I said, this is where I've come up with the model, he looked at me and he said, you know these are 5-speed motorcycles, right? And I said, well, yeah, but okay, I understand. So I went back to my office, made some changes, and I shifted it from early torque to really more mid-range and top end.
Right.
Because he was right. You're not riding this thing at 1800 RPMs.
Right.
So everything has been shifted and moved. So in the grand scheme of things, this is our early torque cam, but it actually makes more horsepower, more of a horsepower gain than it does torque.
Okay.
So, but as far as all around goes, it's an astounding jump from where you would be with an 88 with a stock cam to putting this in and upgrading it.
Horsepower was 66.6. My torque was 71.54. Pretty flat, you can't see it on this, but a pretty flat torque curve. Leonard's, yeah, but he made more horsepower and more torque. Of course, he has a 103 and that's an 88. But with this Hot 95 kit that I'm getting put in, we'll be a little bit closer to the same horsepower and same torque. But my bike's lighter, so.
Because our OE baseline made 10 horsepower less than that did.
Yeah.
So that had a Screaming Eagle exhaust system on it, had an upgraded air cleaner, it had a power commander on it, so it's actually better than a stock. We're gonna make it substantially better than that, but.
Okay. And you guys know that I got this motorcycle from my uncle, so he did all of that stuff to it, and he had it since it's brand new in 2005. So making 10 horsepower above stock was a big deal, but now with numbers like Milwaukee 8s, I'm pointing to my bike, which is right over there, that started out being around 74 and now making 150 horsepower. That is kind of the numbers that we're searching for and looking. We're getting used to those numbers. But back in 2005, if you made 10 more horsepower by installing some stuff, you were doing pretty good.
That's almost 20% gain in
Yeah.
horsepower.
Yeah.
So that is good. Like I said, we can do much better, and You know, we've just gotten so used to these big power of the M8s that, you know, we almost kind of laugh at 60 horsepower, but I mean, that was a very competent motorcycle when it first came out. And it still is today.
Slow but competent.
Slow. We'll make it better.
We'll make it better.
So of course, in doing the cam change, we're going to replace and upgrade the bearings that the cams ride on. This is what the 99 to 06 has that the later engine does not have. We are going to put new lifters in as well. Same thing, it's good practice. You've got, you know, I recommend 20,000 miles for lifter changes, and you're almost there.
Yeah.
So now is definitely the time. Just like with every other twin cam, we're going to use our dual piston cam chain tensioners. So we've already talked about this. This is going to be a really big upgrade for you because you have the spring style tensioners. You know, what's really nice about the hydraulic, when you're at a low RPM, you have low oil pressure, so it only puts so much pressure on the cam chain. Then when you go to a higher RPM and you have much more oil pressure, it increases the pressure on that cam chain when it's required. Okay. You don't get that out of the original spring tensioners. You have one set pressure on the chain from low RPM to high RPM.
And this is a Zippers Performance product, so
Correct.
guys, it's available at Zipper'sPerformance.com. Something that's made like right over there.
Oh yeah. We have a Thunder Max, like your other motorcycle, like pretty much everything that we tune. So this is the Thunder Max with auto tune. This is going to make a big difference on your bike. You know, the earlier the motorcycle, the bigger the gain you get from just putting a ECM on it. So when you get to the latest ones, so yeah, this is a wide band. Yours would have, all the stock bikes have a narrow band system on it. So the beauty of this is, you know, you could put this on your 88 and feel a good increase and carry this through if you did a 124 down the road. So this part, just by updating the map, is not going to be obsoleted. Right. That's one of the common problems if you build something small and then you go to a bigger engine later, everything you bought's been obsoleted.
Oh yeah.
Not this.
So you can grow with that.
You can absolutely.
But right
grow
now it's a
with
hot
this.
95, maybe later. I think the 95 is going to be enough because I always got the Street Glide over there. But who knows? I might go to something else in the future.
It really depends if Leonard goes to a 124. Once he goes to a 124,
if he goes to a 124,
it's going to be a.
then, yeah, we're not even looking at
Okay, so since you only have an 88, we are going to upgrade you to a 95 inch. So we've taken the top end off. We know the 05 has an issue with valve seals that ends up pumping too much oil into the combustion chamber. So it's a good thing for us to be able to go in and clean all that and make everything right in the cylinder head. While we're there, we're going to go ahead and upgrade to a 95. That's really going to be a substantial step up in power that makes this motorcycle compete even as the early model with the later twin cams as well.
So these are 95s.
So this is an 88 as it came off, and that's a 95 that's been bored right there. It's not a substantial difference between the two in bore size, but it is definitely enough for power.
All right, guys, so 88 right here, 95 right here. So gonna be making more power, 7 more cubic inches.
And these are factory cylinders that we have bored, redecked, trued everything, and honed for pistons that we have made for our kit.
All right, so here's the pistons. So it's a flat top piston. No dome, no dish, just flat top.
Correct.
Okay. And it says forward this way.
Yes. If they are directional, the pockets being different, or it may have what's called an offset crank pin. Okay. So there's a lot of different reasons why. Some are the same, some are not. Always look before you install. So the nice thing about this using a factory Harley cylinder is we actually have these in stock. So we have a large number of factory cylinders that we acquire. We'll always do an exchange. And we take a factory set of cylinders, we grade them, deck them, bore them, hone them, and we have that in stock on the shelf ready for a kit just like this.
So guys, I told you it's going to be a Road King summer. I've been using that hashtag already, Road King summer, even though we have the Street Glide over here and I ride a Street Glide. We're doing this build to show you that you can pick up these bikes, these Road Kings. I've seen them as cheap as $3,100. You can have an awesome running bike on a reasonable budget. And of course, All of these parts are going to be available at Zipper'sPerformance.com. All right, so we got one thing left.
All right, so we have an exhaust system here. This is a Khrome Werks Outlaw 2-in-1 touring system 2-step header. So this should perform a lot better, especially in the performance application over what you have. Very good exhaust system.
You know, guys, I've never owned a 2-in-1 before. I've always had 2-in-2. So this is the first 2-in-1 system that I'm going to have. I'm putting it on Memphis, and I think twin cams, just to be honest, twin cams sound better than Milwaukee 8s anyway. I think this exhaust is really going to sound great with that 95 kit, the 511 cam, and these Khrome Werks. I think it's going to sound really good. So you're going to hear these exhausts, you're going to hear everything on the dyno, you're going to see the numbers, you're going to see all of that. So make sure you continue watching this video. All right, so Adam, we'll let you do what you're doing. And Leonard,
We shall see.
thanks, Adam.